Centers on a man trying to win his way out of a tiny apartment.
Surviving just on the prizes from magazine sweeps.
Nasubi does know he's being filmed, but he doesn't know why.
This is the unbelievable story of Tomoaki Hamatsu, aka Nasubi. Nasubi was bullied in school because of his long face. However, he turned that weakness into strength by using it to make people laugh. His passion to make people laugh grew and he decided to become a comedian. When he was in university, he attended auditions to become a comedian, and one of these auditions changed his life forever. The audition was for the Japanese reality show Susunu Denpa Shounen, a reality show known for its extreme challenges. During this audition, the room was filled with people that wanted to become famous comedians. However, after a simple drawing, Nasubi was the lucky winner, and immediately after that, he was blindfolded and taken to a mysterious location. Nasubi was taken to a very small room. In this room, there was only a table, hundreds of paper for letters, a pen, a telephone, a radio, and a cushion. For his hygiene, the room also had a bathroom where he could do his business and take a shower, but there was no toilet paper nor soap. There was a kitchen and a sink and a gas stove, but no utensils to be used. From that moment on, he was isolated from any outside communication. But in a corner of the room, there were several magazines, which Nasubi had to use to enter raffles and win prizes. To pass the time, he also had a notebook, which during the program he began to use as a diary. His challenge was to survive only through the prizes from the raffles, collecting 1 million yen in prizes. If he collected this amount, Nasubi would be declared the winner of the program and would be free to get back to his normal life and being a famous comedian. As soon as he entered the room, he was asked to take off all his clothes.
脱いでなんと脱いで全部マジパンツもですかうわいいんですか嘘これは何のためにですか人は検証だけで生きていけるか
Nasubi was extremely confused at first, but he decided to continue with the challenge. At first, he seemed very uncomfortable and hid behind a cushion, but after a few hours, he ended up accepting the situation, completely forgetting about the fact that he was naked. On the second day, he started to get very hungry, and he wanted his first prize to be something to eat. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to last much longer on the show. A few hours later, the mailman finally knocked on his door, bringing the first prize of the raffle.
はい
誰かが来た
はい
宅急便
やった来た第1号
気分フードケミファさんのファイバーゼリー12個入りでございます。
いただきます
It was a box containing 12 packs of jello, which Nasubi had to divide up over a few days to avoid starving. During the months of January and February, he wrote almost 6,000 letters to participate in raffles. Nasubi was running out of jello and he was starting to worry, but a few days later, he was informed on the phone that he had won a 5-kilo pack of rice.
米か
でんでね
米だナスビ米
お米5キロです
The problem was that he had no way to cook the rice and discovered that eating raw was not a good option. After some experiments, Nasubi thought of leaving the rice near the stove inside of one of the Jello packages, turned on for about 3 hours, which would help to maintain the heat and cook the rice. His experiment was a success, and he was able to continue on the show, having only been eating Jello and rice.
お願いします。おかゆにでもちゃんとなってください。申し訳ないですけどね。ちょっとこれは失敗じゃないですか？ちょっと待って。ちょっと待ってよこれ。
実験成功。
見て。来ましたね、見事に。いやいや、やってみるもんですね。ほら。
お米の炊き方98年3月版ニューバージョンです。
Nasubi also managed to win a 2,000 yen cash, body wash, and also an spaghetti kit. However, because the spaghetti kit had a canned sauce, which unfortunately he wouldn't be able to eat because he didn't have a can opener and also he didn't have a pot to cook the pasta. At this point, Nasubi has managed to win prizes equivalent to the value of about 15,000 yens. And if he continued at this rate, it would take him more than 5 years to reach the goal of 1 million. Even so, despite the difficulties, he was very excited to participate in the show, and he would always do his victory dance every time he won something different, and his positive attitude was believed to give him the strength to continue the challenge of the reality show. In March, he managed to win a few more prizes, including a bicycle,
自転車に乗ってご飯が食える。幸せだな僕は。ね。
a can of sake, which actually had an easy open system, so there was no need for a can opener. The can of sake was his chance to improve the way he cooked rice and was even used to make a small amount of noodles. Up to this point, he had been surviving on just jello, rice, and noodles, and now he wanted something different and more nutritious. In a sequence of luck, he managed to win a box of natto fermented beans from Japan, which also would be able to eat with the rice, and natto is actually considered very healthy. By this point, Nasubi managed to participate in a total of about 6,500 draws, accumulating a total of 90,000 yen, which meant he still needed 909,000 to reach his final goal of 1 million. Over the next few months, Nasubi seemed to have a streak of luck, and his winnings started to coming in more frequently. Some of these items, including a stuffed seal that he named Venus, a box of strawberries, packages of meat, also a PlayStation 1, and even a live lobster. He also won a television, which unfortunately didn't work as there was no antenna in the room, and most importantly, a set with a toothpaste and a toothbrush. It's very impressive to see how Nasubi was finally able to brush his teeth for the first time after 3 months on the show. Due to his poor diet, the producers sent a doctor to perform tests and confirm that he was still able to continue on the show. Even in the survival situation he found himself in, the tests revealed that he was in good health. Unfortunately, his streak of good luck wouldn't last long, and his food supplies began to run low. His rice packet had already run out, and he began to pray for food. It seems his prayers were answered as a delivery man showed up at his door, delivering canned dog food and a box of dog food packets. At this point, Nasubi would have to survive like an animal, eating only dog food.
はい、ドッグフードです。
すると
まずい。
ドッグフードです。
After 6 months, the program became extremely extremely popular in Japan and his location believed to be discovered, so the producers decided to move him to another location. He woke up confused and thought he had already saved enough to a total of 1 million. Unfortunately, he was told that that was not the case and they just had to relocate him to another location. Nasubi was put in a van and taken by the production team to a new location. He's staying in a small apartment just identical to the one that he had been in before. Up until then, the show had been recorded and edited in 10-minute episodes, which aired on TV every Sunday with a summary of what had happened during the week. However, because the show became so popular, the producers decided to add the option to watch live on a website that ran 24 hours a day. With this change, the show hired a team responsible for maintaining the live broadcast at all times and censoring Nasubi in real time. The video quality was very low, but it's important to mention that back in 1998, this was actually ahead of its time in terms of broadcasting technology. One interesting thing to mention here is that when they were censoring his naked parts, the team first had a black circle covering him. However, that later was changed for the eggplant emoji because of his nickname, right, being Eggplant. And now it's interesting to think that eggplant became a symbol of that part of the male body, which could be that it all started from Nasubi's story. In July, 6 months after starting on the show, Nasubi had already sent a total of almost 38,000 letters with entries for raffles, and had accumulated a total of 474,000 yen in prizes, almost half of the amount needed to be declared the winner. But he was still far from reaching the goal of 1 million. From July, Nasubi was hit by a streak of bad luck and he only managed to win a package of rice and a watermelon to eat. During this time, the air conditioning in his room stopped working, making it hard for him to write letters due to the summer heat. The summer in Japan can be extremely hot. Fortunately, the air conditioning started working again after a couple of days, and Nasubi even went a week without hearing the delivery man knock on the door. Nasubi managed to regain his luck, and his first prize was a box containing packets of potato chips. He also won a VCR, and for the first time in 10 months, he could watch a VHS tape on television. Nasubi was also super happy when he won a packet of toilet paper for the first time during his whole time on the program. He even won a PlayStation 1, which would be perfect after he already won a video game, right, for PlayStation at the beginning of the program. With that, he decided to take a few days off from his registration to play a little video game, but he ended up not sleeping for 3 days playing video game. For this reason, he decided to ban his gaming sessions and focus again on the prizes of the raffles so he could get out of there. In December, he wrote about 2,500 letters, a number far below his monthly average, but which so far up added a total of almost 62,000 letters. It was at this moment that Nasubi received one of the most valuable prizes so far, a kit of 4 tires, which together cost 84,000 yen. This win left him with a total of 969,000 yen. The final prize that made Nasubi reach his goal and be declared the champion was a simple bag of rice. This meant that he would finally get out of this tiny room after 335 days of survival and prove that it is possible to live a life living only off prizes from raffles.
そしてその時がやってきた。
はい、おお、はいはいはい、今日も来ましたか。おお、来ました。白く輝く憎いアンチ気象。
その当選は。
お
お米が当たりました。
その値段は750円ということは商品総額は100万飛んで164円ということはゴール100万円到達。検証生活ここに終了。
To celebrate, he was woken up by the producers in the middle of the night and informed that he had successfully completed the challenge.
ゴールを祝いクラッカーで祝福。
100万になったってことですか？
11ヶ月と1日前に抜かされた。
He had his clothes returned and he could dress again after a long 12 months. We could imagine how happy he would be to wear his clothes again, but his feelings wouldn't last long. Due to the fact that he had spent so many months without wearing any clothes, he no longer felt comfortable in them. He said that the clothes made him feel itchy and he felt uncomfortable. At times, he would take his clothes off again and be naked by his own decision. Now, as part of his prize, Nasubi was taken to South Korea to eat one of his favorite food, yakiniku. What he didn't know was that due to the success of the shows, the production had even more plans for him, and Nasubi was taken to another small room.
そこは
脱いで。人は韓国の検証だけで生きていけるか。
ナスビ大ショック。
Fortunately, this time he didn't need to raise 1,000,000 yen, but just enough money to pay for his flight back to Japan, which was a total of 47,000 yen for an economy ticket. The only problem was that all the magazines were now in Korean, so Nasubi had to use a dictionary to translate the pages and send out the entry and raffle letters, all written in Korean. Because of the difficulty of understanding and writing in another language, he was only able to send about 2,000 letters in January. In February and March, he sent out about 4,600 more letters, and with the prize he received, he had already raised enough money to return to Japan. However, the production team told him that now he would have to raise more money, enough for a business class ticket, a total of 57,000 yen. He continues submitting the letters and he was able to reach the amount after winning an expensive keychain worth 14,000 yen. But after that, again, the production team said that this time you would have to save enough money to actually buy a first class ticket. So he would have to continue on the show. After winning a few more prizes, Nasubi managed to reach his goal. Finally, Nasubi was back in Japan, and without knowing it, he participated in a program with an audience of thousands of people who were anxiously waiting for his return. Once again, Nasubi was blindfolded and taken into a small room. So when he removed the blindfold, he realized that he was back into a tiny room, and he starts taking his clothes off because he thought that he would have to go under the same thing again. But then something happened.
ません。
お邪魔します。お邪魔します。
お邪魔しますって。
ナスビ君。
家来したらなんか人いっぱいいるんですよ。なんで笑ってるんですか。
ここどこかわかる？ナスビ君の姿を皆さんは毎週毎週テレビで見てたの。あんた知らなかった？
いや、だってオンエアされてないっていうか、放送とかそういうのされてないって私は聞きながらやってたんですけど。
毎週見てたよ、ナスビ君を。みんな知ってるのよ。
この人たち何すか、じゃあみんな俺の裸見てるんですか、毎週。
ナスビ君がずーっと1年3ヶ月ずっと当選の前にした食べられないドッグフードを食べた、そういうのも全部見てたのよ、みんな。
は？うわ、それはちょっとまずいんじゃないんですか。
It's the hit of the season.
Every week, more than 30 million people tune in.
On a man trying to win his way out of a tiny apartment.
Surviving just on the prizes from magazine sweepstakes, all part of a new phenomenon which is called webcam.
Nasubi's perseverance was mentioned internationally, making him famous. He was mentioned several times in newspapers in Japan, and he had his diary published, divided into 5 books that became bestsellers in Japan, with more than 800,000 copies sold. At this time, it was also revealed to Nasubi that after a few months, the program began to broadcast live 24 hours a day on the internet and had more than 16 million views, breaking a historical record in Japan. Finally, after a long 15 months, he was free and could return to his normal life. However, because he spent 15 months locked up, he needed another 6 months of readaptation to be able to live in society again. He said that he felt very hot and was sweating a lot when wearing clothes, also that he had difficulty holding conversations for long periods of time with people. Susumu Denpa Shonen was a reality show known for its extreme challenges, but due to initiative by the Japanese government to ban all extreme programs that were becoming popular in Japan, the show was cancelled. Today, Nasubi is very active on social media, and in 2016, he even joined the list of people who successfully reached the top of Mount Everest. He tried 3 times before succeeding. The first time he tried in 2013, second time 2014, then in 2015 without success. But in 2016, he finally was able to climb to the top. He also worked hard to save money to Fukushima for the earthquake victims, and his story inspired lots of people. Nasubi's story proves how a positive attitude could assist someone to cope with hunger and discomfort in a harsh environment. It's shocking the great lengths someone might go to achieve fame. Perhaps we should ask ourselves what is deemed as acceptable when pushing the boundaries of reality TV. I hope you enjoyed this material, and I'll see you on the next video. それではまた。バイバイ。